Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Well, Greg Abbott's at it again. You know, for the Democrats living in Texas, and you're like, oh, this guy's horrible. Yeah, we know. Apparently, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, was on Face the Nation, and he confirmed that the city of Chicago had seen the arrival of several buses of migrants over the past several nights. And even also had recently seen an unexpected flight of migrants coming in, all from Texas, courtesy of Greg Abbott. His point is these cities are willing to work with Greg Abbott to help with the migrants, but to basically put them on a bus and dump them in the middle of the night in other cities without giving the cities any heads up or any coordination is unacceptable. And I really, really wonder if Greg Abbott will face some form of human trafficking consequence for this. Right now, he's being about as shitty a human being as you can possibly be. He should probably take some swimming lessons in the Rio Grande. Don't mind the razor wire that you put in there during your swim lessons. So I'm not real happy with Greg Abbott right now. So I'm sure my energy will impact this reading. But let's look. Greg Abbott. What's up with you? What's the spiritual lesson that Greg Abbott should be learning from all this? Entertainment purposes only. Knight of Wands. Okay, he's moving forward with his plan of getting migrants out of his state. Basically, instead of incarcerating them, he just wants to exile them, for lack of a better description. He doesn't want them in his state, and he's going to move them on out. And he doesn't care what he does. He's going to continue doing this because right now there's no consequences. There's nothing stopping him from doing it. It's going to cause some scrutiny for himself, though. The Hangman could be any one of a number of things here. This could cause the feds to have to look at this. Now, the mayor of Chicago was saying that they've been lobbying Congress to help with this problem, but Congress has been unable to do anything. May I remind you, who's in charge of the House, who would start this, are the Republicans. And they're screaming about the border, and they're screaming about the wall and illegal immigration. What legislation are they putting forward to address it? None. Their idea of legislation is to hold the budget hostage or hold funding to Ukraine hostage until you build a border wall. That's their solution to this problem, which is not a solution. Certainly not a legislative one. These migrants are willing sacrifices. Abbott just doesn't care. They're subhumans to him. And underneath it all, it's costing him a little bit of money to charter buses and charter planes, but to him it's money well spent to get rid of what he considers to be a problem, and it keeps him it keeps his Republican cred going strong. In the past, he's been victorious doing this. I know Gavin Newsom threatened to sue him for that. I haven't seen any lawsuits come through. Just empty rhetoric. It's there's like nothing you can do to stop him, and he keeps winning on this front. He probably gains popular support at home, and he moves what he considers to be his problem onto somebody else. It's a win-win situation from his point of view. And he's celebrated for it. The conservatives, especially conservative media, love him for this. They think he's the greatest thing ever because he's trying to prevent migrants from coming in, and when they do successfully come in, he shoves them over to big cities and blue states and has them deal with it. So on the short term, he wins in getting rid of the immigrants. He wins political support from his allies and conservative media and such. And to him, there's no problem here. Just because you're treating people awfully, we'll forgive and forget that part about the Bible about, what you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. That's irrelevant. There's decisions coming up, though. He is going to be at a crossroads. I don't know if there's going to be some legislation coming forward or some consequences, but something is starting to appear overhead. I don't know if it's like the similar situation with Florida and their laws about employing folks who are immigrants and the immigrants fleeing the state so they can't get any construction done. By doing all this, are you now causing problems in Texas? The lesson to be learned is the Seven of Coins. The thing with immigrants is that they do work, like, picking crops or working in slaughterhouses. They do really hard labor jobs, roofing, construction, and they do it inexpensively. Much cheaper than what you would have to pay a U.S. citizen to do. First off, U.S. citizens don't want to do those jobs. Or if they do those jobs, they don't last at those jobs because they're too hard. There's going to be a financial consequence. Either labor or financial consequence that's going to happen to Texas if he keeps this up. It could be that there's some governmental things that happen that slow his roll, or there can start to be some economic things that are happening, that having immigrants and the money that they bring in would be helping Texas. But, on the short term, he doesn't care. He's celebrated and he's winning. Outcome is the Seven of Wands. I think, and again, there's short-term gains here, short-term value for him. I think what's going to happen is that there's going to start being some legal cases coming in. Human rights groups starting to sue. Other lawsuits, maybe from states, are going to start coming into the court system and challenging Abbott and his policies. It could even be elections that are coming up where he has to defend what he's doing. Right now, it seems like there's no consequence. He doesn't have to defend himself. He's on the offensive and there's nobody pushing back. So if there's nobody pushing back, well, then that means it's okay. So you just keep on doing what you're doing, because obviously if it was wrong, then people would be pushing back. You know what I mean? It's that 5-year-old mentality, or that really immature mentality. I went to college with some people that had that mindset that, if nobody says it's illegal, then that means it's legal. And that's not how society works. Spirit, what will be when we saw that Seven of Wands, what would be an example of some pushback that Greg Abbott might get with regards to this? My concern, and I'm not wishing this, nor do I want to manifest this, but as an example, what were to happen if he had a bus full of migrants that he chartered, for instance, and something went horribly wrong, and the bus crashed and there were fatalities? Would there be legal consequences for something like that? You know what I mean? Because these folks, just like when they pushed them off to California, they were told they were going to have jobs and stuff like that, and they were just dumped off in Sacramento in the middle of the night. What might be one of the consequences Greg Abbott faces? Well, the Department of Justice might be a big consequence. I think the Department of Justice might get involved in something like this, or certainly big legal concerns. I got the Three of Cups, got the Nine of Wands. The Three of Swords. Yeah. I think there's going to be some prosecutors. Again, this is kind of like my Jack Smith Department of Justice duo, but I think there's going to be some prosecutors from the Department of Justice or lawsuits being put forward in front of judges about this. These are folks that were basically promised jobs and promised things, but those were all lies. And they made an agreement for this, but they were delivered this. So there's a type of fraud that's going on here. And again, they'll talk about human trafficking. Somewhere between human trafficking and fraud is what's going to be happening here. And I think there will be some court cases that are going to start to be brought up against Greg Abbott in Texas with regards to this. Basically, somewhere between human trafficking and fraud. Basically, you're transporting people across state lines for fraudulent purposes, for lies. There's going to be a consequence. Some lawyer is going to figure out, or some district attorney is going to figure out a way to criminally charge Abbott in Texas for this. I don't know how soon, but I think that's going to be what's coming down the front. So, coming down the pike. So, keep your fingers crossed that it happens sooner rather than later, so that in the end of the day, these migrants are treated like human beings as opposed to rubbish and trash, because that's how they're being treated right now. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your kind words and your likes and your subscribes and everything you do to help feed this the YouTube algorithm and help my channel get out to a wider audience. To folks just discovering this channel for the first time, welcome. Glad you found us. I'm starting to play around with the little boxes on the side here. One, I'll link some other video that I've done with Greg Abbott, and another will be to my international tarot channel called Tarot of the Seven Seas. If you're interested in finding out tarot readings on events outside the United States and you're curious what's going on, go check it out. I appreciate it. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.